Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a comparison between stock thermal pastes and what kind of performance increase you can expect by using aftermarket solution. All tests will be done on a Be Quiet Pure Rock on an i5 4590 and a Fantex P400S. Yes, I know it's kind of silly to have a locked i5, and I'm getting a 4770K next month, so I'll finally be able to utilize the aftermarket cooler and Z97 motherboard. All pastes are going to be tested in Prime 95 for 20 minutes. All of the fans are going to be at 50%. We have two 140mm intakes, one 120mm exhaust, and one 120 on the cooler itself. The thermal pastes that are going to be tested are going to be the Be Quiet thermal paste that came stock with the cooler itself. This is going to represent the pre-applied paste because it is already on the cooler, sprayed out of the box, so you don't need to apply anything. You just put the cooler on and you're good to go. This kind of has its advantages and disadvantages. We are also going to be testing the stock cryo-rig paste, the CP7. This is going to represent a stock paste that comes in its own tube that you have to actually apply yourself. The next paste tested is going to represent a very cheap paste that you can find at Micro Center. I found this for $4 there. It's just kind of an emergency type thing. Like if you're out of thermal paste, you don't know what to do. You don't need it for anything crazy. You just need to get some thermal paste quickly, which is why I bought it. It was $4 for a 1.5 gram tube. It's by StarTech, and I didn't expect it to be that great because it's just so cheap. But yeah, this is what you can expect by getting a cheap paste that isn't very reputable or high-end by any means. So the first paste that we're going to use is the stock paste that came with the P-Rock. I didn't really expect much out of this because stock paste isn't really known for being that crazy. But I was really surprised at how bad this paste actually performed. We got 74 degrees Celsius, which as you can see is very bad, especially because we're running at a non-overclocked, locked i5 running at about 3.5 gigahertz. So originally, when I got this CPU cooler, I was very disappointed because of how poorly it performed, not realizing, oh, it's just the thermal paste. So this is very good for me because now I don't really have to worry as much about temperatures when I get my i7 and I can finally overclock it. If you buy this cooler, I strongly recommend you buy some new thermal paste and replace it because this thermal paste will not work very well. It looked to be ceramic based, I think, and it was old and it was dry. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not very good paste. Now, the stock cryo-rig thermal paste, on the other hand, was a completely different story. It performed very well. We lost 9 degrees Celsius just by switching the paste to something that was pretty good. And that alone kind of shows that if you do have the Be Quiet P-Rock, that you should really, really get a different paste because the temperature difference is really quite insane. If you did buy the cryo-rig H7, which is a very good cooler, and I strongly recommend it, I will be doing a comparison video on it very shortly. I do not recommend changing the thermal paste because the CP7 that it comes with is actually very good. And that's how it landed us with 65 degrees Celsius as opposed to the 74 degrees Celsius on the Be Quiet stock paste. This also shows that the stock paste that comes with your cooler, if it's in a tube, it might perform better just because it can be fresher and spread a little bit better. Whereas if it's the kind that's already been applied to the cooler, sometimes it can be kind of old and crusty, and I think that was the case of the P-Rock one. Alright, so the next paste that I tested is the StarTech Metal Oxide. That's the stuff that I got at Micro Center for really cheap. It got up to 69 degrees Celsius, which is a decent upgrade to the Be Quiet thermal paste, but I would still strive to get something a little bit better. I wanted this paste to represent what kind of performance you can get from just buying the cheapest place you can find at the nearest store you can find, getting something cheap, fast, because if that's all you really need, that's all you really need if it's like an emergency situation. I don't want to say that this is how all cheap emergency thermal pastes will perform, because they just won't. There's way too many thermal pastes like that. This is just to give some sort of idea on how a very cheap thermal paste will perform in comparison to a better aftermarket thermal paste or the stock paste that you already have. So the last paste I tested was the Arctic MX4. I initially thought that this would perform the best, considering that it's a well-known paste and it's regarded as being one of the best non-conductive thermal pastes on the market. To my surprise, it was actually 2 degrees hotter than the CP7. The CP7 was at 65 degrees and the MX4 was at 67 degrees. So if you bought a cryo-rig cooler and you got the CP7 with it, don't replace the paste. This is a very good paste, and it should do very well compared to even some of the higher end pastes. Something to consider is buying the CP7 as like an aftermarket paste, because as you see, it is very good and it would do way better than many other stock pastes.